I'm not ready for that. I don't want it. You keep it, Jude. Indiana-based drug maker Eli Lily announced it will drop the price of its insulin by 70%.
Nearly 500,000 children and adults in Kentucky have type 1 or type 2 diabetes. And this morning, Dr. Swapna Deo is here. She's an endocrinologist with the Wendy Novak Diabetes Institute. And she's here to talk about this big change. Thank you for coming in.
Thank
we really
you for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Can you explain what type of insulin this applies to? Because it doesn't cover everything.
It doesn't. So from what I understand, it covers certain analog insulins, which is something like Novolog or a premixed insulin. And then they're planning on bringing in probably the longer acting insulins as well.
Okay. So if we look at it, out-of-pocket cost, $35. Humalog, a vial of Humalog is $66. The generic vial, $25. So this would be a huge savings for people.
It is, and if you look at different retail pharmacies, the cost actually varies substantially, going from what you said, $66 to as high as $370. So it depends on where you decide to get your insulin. And of course, the non-analogs can be anywhere from $25 to $175. So a pretty significant expense for these patients who need their medicine day after day, month after month, their entire lifetime.
Now, the price often causes some patients to rotate their different medications. Is that dangerous?
Rotating to an equivalent kind of insulin may not be dangerous if it's in the right quantities, but it often leads these patients to not use the insulin in the right amounts.
They're saving it.
Correct. They ration it, non-adherence to the prescribed regimens. What all that leads to is basically high blood sugars, which for type 1 diabetes patients, if they don't get their insulin, can be immediately catastrophic, something like diabetic ketoacidosis, which could be potentially fatal. And for type 2 diabetics, they need the optimal control over long periods of time. If they are not able to do that because they could not get their medicine, it can cause long-term complications, both, something like diabetic kidney disease, which can cause eventually dialysis, diabetic eye disease, blindness, amputations from arterial disease, heart attacks, strokes, death. I mean, you name it. It's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Critical, sure.
Yeah. This price drop is not going to take effect until October. So do you have any advice for patients who right now are saying, boy, I could use the price break immediately?
Like I said, there are some insulins that are available at pharmacies. The non-analog ones for $25 a vial. The analog ones are around $70 a vial, so they could definitely try that. And there's other pharmacy applications you can do for getting your medications. So, there's different ways that you can, and probably should be talking to your physician, getting, in touch with your pharmacy to find out what's the best option.
All right. Dr. Deo, do you have one more question before
Well,
we go?
I was going to ask you about some of the technologies surrounding diabetes. Those things can be expensive too.
Absolutely.
But they're also life-changing for people. Do you think other drug companies, because of what Eli Lilly has done, will they come along and do the same thing?
I certainly hope so, not just for insulin, for other medications as well, for diabetic equipment as well. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Diabetes is the fastest growing chronic disease condition, affects so many people, 37 million Americans. It's about 11% of the population. So there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, this is a great start, but there's more work to be done.
All right.
Okay. Dr. Deo, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.